In this module, I'll talk a little bit about preparing our transcripts that we'll use as our data for this discourse analysis. So this is a transcript in what we call block transcription. It looks a lot like lines in a play. If I was going to try to script a sitcom or a drama, this is what I would do. It's basically just the regular orthography of the language. Like in this case, it's English. We see the different characters who are speaking. We have I and X, the interviewer, and then X is Shui, an English learner from China who's talking here. You see that there's sort of normal punctuation, like periods, question marks. So it's prepared the way that we would normally expect the writing system of the language to work, and we have these neat turns. There's no overlap, there's no indications of pauses or intonation. Just why did you start learning English? Because our school forced us to learn English because it's a trend to learn English in China. So we do have a discourse marker. We do try to literally represent some of the restarts or the hesitations. Your school did what? Force us. Forced you. Yep. I see. So here we can see a nice little example of a recast that wasn't picked up on. Can you say a little bit more about the trend? Because I think English is the biggest language in the world. And so here again, we have Shui doing what we call an extended turn. So it looks like a paragraph. It looks like a block of text the way that we would see in writing. This is called block transcription, and this is the most common way that we would transcribe data. So why would we ever want to use this block format? Well, this is really helpful for content analysis. If what's most interesting to us is simply what people say, the ideas that people say, and not actually how they say it, the choices they make, then a block transcript will usually suffice. A lot of times when oral interview data is used, for example, in other research fields like sociology or health studies or gender studies, this is as sophisticated as they get, is just trying to do a block format. A lot of times other fields will actually fix people's errors. They'll get rid of all of the likes or the hesitations out of the transcript and make everything look nice and neat, as if perfectly formed language was just ready to go tumbling out of people's mouths. But if we think about what kinds of analysis can't be done in this kind of format, we actually don't see how speakers use their voice quality, for example, to take stances, to express hesitation or doubt or excitement. We don't see how learners change their rate of speech. We don't see how overlap or interruption happens, how pausing happens. We don't see intonation contours. So there's a lot of ways in which communication actually depends on how we speak, not just what we say. And all of that detailed information is missing from block format. If we want to say how people are enacting or point to the fact that the speaker seems hesitant, the speaker seems confident, that two people are sort of in competition with each other, or that one person is deferring to the other one, that's really invisible in a block transcription, the format of the transcript that I just showed you in the previous slide. So this is why we would need actually a more detailed form. What I would recommend that you do to prepare your transcripts is to download Audacity, which is a sound editing file program. What I would recommend is that you download Audacity, which is a sound editing program. Audacity is really nice in that it lets you play with the speed of the playback. It makes it very easy to pause and to listen to the same little bit over and over again. Sometimes it takes repeated listening to understand really what people are saying or to figure out exactly where the pauses happen. A nice thing about Audacity too is that you can use Audacity to measure the length of the pauses that are there. And so Audacity is a really great way once we want to get into a more narrow transcription than just simply a block transcription, if we want to begin to add more detail. In order to use Audacity, though, you'll have to convert the files to either WAV or AIFF format. And a website that I like for this is www.media.io. So you can upload an MP4 file, which is what most of your phones would record in, or an MP3 file or some other format, and you can convert it to a WAV file. Once it's a WAV file, you can upload that program into Audacity and begin to play with it and use that for your transcription. So if you open the files in Audacity, So if you open the files in Audacity, then you can begin to pause and to cut and to do the things that you would want to do. So in conversation transcription, you can adjust the playback speed for a highlighted section. I really like to use 2 times or 1.75 times speed if I'm going to be transcribing. I find like that makes it so that I can type almost as fast as what I'm listening to. You can also change the playback speed for the whole file, so you can extend that. But then a lot of times if I double the length or if I half the speed of a sound file, what will happen is that the pitch also gets lower. So I'd have to adjust the pitch again to be higher so that the pitch is in a normal range. So my first step in preparing a transcript, if I'm going to do sort of Jeffersonian transcription where each intonation unit is on a different line, is to break it up according to these intonation units. Where does one intonation contour end? Where does a pause happen or a chance to catch the breath? So at each time that there seems to be a pause or an end to the intonation, I'll start a new line in my transcript, and it's helpful to number the lines just that I can easily refer to the lines later if I'm going to cite it in my paper. And then I try to listen for if there's overlapping turns and align those turns using those brackets. Vertically aligned brackets will help us to see that one turn starts in the middle of another one. This Jeffersonian transcription allows us to do a lot of different things in our transcript. These conventions allow us to indicate information about rate, pitch, volume, all of these things. So if there's significant pauses, then I would go back and try to insert those pauses. I might just put a period to mark a pause as a placeholder while I'm transcribing. Then I can go back to each of those periods and to add a length. Sort of a rule of thumb is that if it's less than 0.2 seconds, you can just leave a period in there as a pause marker, a period inside parentheses. If it's more than 0.2 seconds, then we usually measure the length of the pause. A 1 second pause, a 1.2 second pause. Remember though that if you've halved the speed of your transcription, that something that looks like it's a 0.4 second pause in Audacity would actually only be a 0.2 second pause. Or something that looks like it would be a 2 second pause in Audacity is actually only a 1 second pause. So Audacity does make it very easy to measure the pause length. So you could write it like this: 1.4 seconds. A micropause of less than 0.2 seconds is a period. You can add rising and falling intonation markers with the up and down arrow signs, which are built into the Microsoft suite of Office products. Elongated turns, if there's length, something is drawn out, that can be indicated with colons. Interrupted speech, if you feel like someone got interrupted halfway through a word or turn was abandoned halfway through a word, a single dash indicates that. Speech that was interrupted, if someone else latches right on, if another person jumps in right as someone was ending and they don't overlap at all, we use this equal sign. It kind of means a latched turn. That means that the floor was either immediately given to someone else or taken and the person immediately surrendered it. So there's no overlap, but that these turns are instantly connected and then resumed. So speech that was interrupted and then resumed, where there's no overlap there. Other Jeffersonian transcription conventions, after I've done that of sort of adding latching, overlap, pauses, intonation, I could go back and add speech quality information in the double parentheses, things like laughter or nervousness. If something is much louder in terms of volume than the surrounding text, we will use all caps. If it's a stressed syllable, maybe contrastive stress, I could underline that. If it's slower than usual, I'll use these sort of stretch marks. If it's faster than usual, I'll use these compression marks. If it's said under the breath or whispered or quieter than the surrounding speech, I usually put it inside of degree signs. There's actually a whole host of different things that I can do to add detail to my transcription if they become relevant to the argument that I'm trying to make.